we gonna learn today? While I'm sipping my tea because I've already had way too much coffee today.
Yeah, I've switched over to water already.
I'm doing non-caffeinated tea right now just because how we do stuff at my job. If you're working at the espresso bar for the day, you have to dial in your shots just to make sure like they're tasting okay.
So that everybody just like super hopped up at work.
Well, I make sure like I don't like drink all of the entire shots. Like I'm just tasting them. So
Right.
like we basically have to like if our shots are not tasting well, we will have to adjust many different things like the temperature of the shot, the pull ratio, the grind. It's
Give a spit bucket.
oh no, I drink that down.
It's more of a facetious question.
Like I mean, we should technically might have a spit bucket, but I mean, all I need is like one sip. Then I just dump the rest out and then do another one if I need it. I mean, some people might say it's a waste of caffeine, but I would rather have people taste good caffeine and me taste the shit ones. So that's my philosophy on that. Anyway, general geekery time.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Let's go. So, what's going on, guys, ladies, and gentlemen, all you lovely listeners? Welcome back to the General Geekery Podcast, the podcast where we geek out about all that we love to geek out about with no remorse, no regrets, and with all the enthusiasm in the world.
Indeed.
As always, this is Donald Kaczynski, your resident coffee ninja by day, actor, gamer, streamer by night, and joining me as always, my partner in crime, she is the artistic maestro herself, the dice slinger extraordinaire, Hannah Kubiak.
Hello.
And as you guys can probably tell from this current audio, we are not recording in space in studio today because a bunch of different circumstances. One of the main reasons being I'm moving house soon, and we're not going to have like a solid recording space coming up soon. So,
Yeah.
but as they say,
I just felt lazy today. I didn't
that's
want to leave my house. You know.
But you know what? The show must go on, and we're always happy to geek out about everything. Speaking of which, I chose today's topic, and I was actually surprised by this, that I managed to find a book series that our writer and scholar extraordinaire Hannah is not familiar with.
I've read the first one. I just don't remember it very well.
Understandable.
Like I read the summary on Wikipedia and I was like, I don't remember any of this at all.
Understandable. Like oh god, it's been ages since I read the first one, but that was probably like one of my earliest like memories of it. What
Did we tell them? Oh yeah, I was gonna say, did we tell them what this is?
Not yet. Today, ladies and gentlemen, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the series of children's novels, the Redwall series, written by the late author Brian Jacques. One of the earliest novel series that had a big impact on my life, personally. Like Hannah said, you only read it a long, long time ago, right?
Yeah, like I think I was at that age where I read it with my family at like story time. Like my mom read it aloud to us.
Okay.
So I was like maybe 6.
Understandable.
Yeah. This is all on you, man.
I was originally introduced to the series back when I was around 8 or 9 years old. I haven't read all of them because the Redwall series is a giant collection of 22 books.
Ooh, yeah.
There's a lot. 22 novels and 2 picture books. As I have all the information in front of me right now, just because I'm not going to remember all of it. I have not read all of them. I've read a few of them. I've not had the chance to read all of them, unfortunately, because I can't get my hands on 22 of those books. So I was well familiar with it. I was actually introduced to this series through there was a cartoon television series that was originally produced in the late 90s that the Brian Jacques, the author, actually helped oversaw that covered 3 of the novels. That I originally saw, and then I was like, maybe I want to read the novels and everything, and I ended up loving the books. I love them. So for those not familiar with Redwall, Brian, or the author Brian Jacques, what originally inspired him to write the Redwall series of books is that he was dissatisfied with a lot of children's literature at the time. He was I'm looking at his biography right now. He was working as a milkman.
What?
Yeah, he originally wrote Redwall for some special friends with his, the children for the Royal Wavertree School for the Blind.
What? School for the Blind?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
I know.
I'm loving this already.
So while he was working as a milkman, he spent time with the children. He read to them, and he found, and he was not happy with the state of children's literature at the time. He felt like there wasn't enough, like, imagination, magic to it. It was too much like adolescent angst, according to him. And so he decided to create the Redwall series, and he's a very descriptive writer when it comes to like his novels, talking about specific things like the feel of something, the taste of specific foods, a smell wafting through the air, touch, and everything like that. He's kind of like the children's literature descriptive of like kind of Tolkien's works.
Oh, okay. So,
and I do not say that lightly. Some people find his like works to be kind of repetitive. I love them. Because like you can tell the passion that he's writing in these words, and he just takes such. It's like a symphony and a feast of many descriptors, of adjectives, adverbs, all that stuff, and I'm just like, yes, give me more, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
So what are the books about? I know you wanted to talk about the first one primarily. Like,
yes.
Want to give like a little summary kind of what it's about?
Yeah, absolutely. So the original book, Redwall, released in 1986. It was the first book. So the story centers around, first of all, everything in the Redwall series are based on anthropomorphic like animal creatures, particularly like kind of like rodents, mice, badgers, rats, hares, you name it.
Otters
too. Yes.
Otters were my favorite when I read those books. I remember.
Oh, the otters were great. So our main protagonist of Redwall is a young Abbey mouse named Matthias. He is an orphaned young, I would say, monk, because he's living at Redwall, which is an abbey. He's
a novice, right?
Yeah, he's a novice of Redwall Abbey at the start of it, under his adoptive father, the abbot of Redwall Abbey, Abbot Mortimer. And the abbey is noted for being the home at one point of a famous mouse warrior named Martin, who was a warrior of Redwall many, 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 many seasons ago. And honestly, this is actually kind of the interesting thing about the entire Redwall series. If you look at the timeline order of it, Redwall is like the 9th or 10th entry in like chronological order of like the series.
Oh.
It was all written out of order, which I'm fine with because there was no set plan, I think. At least I think
Yeah,
it was.
I read in the I was reading through some stuff about it, and apparently there's a lot of weird sort of discrepancies in the world in the first book because Brian Jacques didn't expect it to be published. Like, I
No,
think did he just
no. Like I said, he originally had the series. He originally wrote the. I think he originally like wrote the first book in order to read to the children, to read to the blind children.
Mm-hmm.
Like it said. Which I'm like, you know what? That would explain a lot of the descriptors that he uses in that book.
Oh yeah, actually, like the taste and the
Oh yeah,
touch.
yeah. That's another thing in his books when he talks about like some of the food dishes that are in the series. He goes very into detail with them. So much so that there's actually a Redwall cookbook, like based in the lore of the series. I really want to get my hands on that. No joke.
I think I remember getting really hungry reading these books sometimes.
Exactly, because like as you read the words and you're thinking the image of the dish formed in your head, and it's just like, oh my god, yes.
It's kind of the same when I read Harry Potter. Whenever they go to like the Great Hall and eat things, like, oh my gosh, like there's so much delicious food, and it just appears for you. I would be so fat. Like cafeteria dining in college has nothing on this.
Oh no, not at all. And all of this was like great homemade food, and I'm like, oh my god, I want.
My cafeteria at school was a little bit weird as well because they kept on trying to make like they used basically the same food all the time, but they would try to present it to you in like a different form. So there'd be like, there was something where it was like a turkey. It was like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but it also had like meat from a turkey dinner in it or something like that. Like just something bizarre. Where you're like, what the hell? Like, oh man. Or like green bean salad on like as a pizza topping.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't know. I don't remember anything precise because I probably wiped it from my memory, but I remember looking at something and being like, what? This is literally just another dish in another dish. Like, what are you doing? It doesn't make it interesting. It just makes it weird. Like,
you dare make a mockery of food?
Yes, just give me my grilled cheese as usual.
Indeed. But over the course what happens at Redwall, the Abbey is besieged by a sea rat by the name of Clooney the Scourge, who wants to claim the Abbey as his own, and an entire war breaks out. Over the course of this war, Matthias learns that he becomes the defender and the next warrior of Redwall, like Martin. It's kind of like almost like a prophecy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for Matthias, because he was the warrior. He becomes the warrior of Redwall, and at the end of it, Clooney's defeated. A new age of peace comes to the Abbey, and which leads into for later books as well. That's basically like the general kind of synopsis, but there's so much more to the book itself. And another thing, which is really clever, like several of like the woodland like critters that are in there have very distinct ways of dialect and speaking.
Ooh, yes, like the otters.
The otters, the moles, and especially all of the aviary creatures, all of the birds, especially the sparrows of Redwall, aka the spada.
Oh, that's right. The Spada tribe.
Yep, the spada.
Spada.
What? Warbeak, Crazy Mouse. Love it.
Warbeak.
That was the name of one of the spada.
Warbeak Crazy Mouse?
No, just Warbeak, and she.
Oh.
No. She always called Matthias Crazy Mouse.
Ooh, nice.
And they were.
I wish that was my nickname.
Crazy Mouse, make enemy of Warbeak.
Crazy Mouse.
Crazy Mouse. I never get tired of it. Every single time.
Oh man, it's like what's it in Dune? The name Muad'Dib is like the name of a jumping mouse or something.
Yep.
From humble beginnings.
So good.
I love stories about like little insignificant people who do great things.
That's kind of how the first story for the original Redwall story is. Basically. Matthias's story is that type of story where he's just a young mouse. He's just a young Abbey mouse, and he becomes this great defender. And it's just, yes, amazing, awesome, stupendous. And honestly, like I originally followed this story, like I said, through the children's television series that they produced. And I loved it. Like the original cartoon series, like it covered 3 of the books. It was 39 episodes long, 13 episodes per book. And of course, you have to cut out a lot of fat from like the novels, but still, they did pretty good to tell a coherent story in the time that they had. And all honesty, the voice cast for them as well was pretty great. Because they utilized a lot of British and Canadian voice actors of the time. Some of them have actually that worked on other well-known projects of the time, such as like X-Men the animated series. Some went on to do video games and other stuff, and I'm like, wow.
Huh. Oh, like who? Anybody we would know of?
Not off the top of my head. I would have to do one, but there is one that I do know from the second season, which is the story that follows the original Redwall, which is
right.
Matameo.
That's Matameo. Okay.
Yes, Matameo. Matameo is the direct sequel to the original Redwall story. And it follows well, it still kind of continues Matthias' story as he becomes an adult as well, and he marries I'm trying to remember okay,
Cornflower.
Yes, Cornflower. Cornflower is her name. She was a
I contributed.
You did.
Hey.
She was a cook in Redwall, and she encouraged him a lot throughout the original story. They married, and they had a son named Matameo, named after Matthias himself, and 2 of his father figures who died in the original Redwall novel that meant a lot to him, Methuselah and Abbot Mortimer. And Matameo is very brash, very very brash. He's very different from how Matthias was in like the original Redwall. And how Matameo's story goes is that a slave trader fox named Slagar has kidnapped Matameo and all of the children of Redwall Abbey to sell them off as slaves.
Not the children. I hate that.
Not even the younglings survived.
Younglings.
And Matthias and several of the Redwallers journey to rescue them. And in the television series, Slagar, who's like the main villain throughout all of it, was voiced by probably one of the greatest cult actors of all time. I will give you 3 guesses, Hannah.
You think I would know who he is?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, goodness. Well, because we talk about him all the time, Mark Hamill?
No.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Do you want a hint?
I want a hint.
Okay. Okay. Think Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, goodness. Not actually very familiar with Rocky Horror Picture Show. We should call this episode Things Hannah Doesn't Know About. Oh my goodness. No, I don't know. I'm stumped.
Okay, I will do another one. Think Pennywise the Clown.
Oh my gosh. What is his name?
Oh, you know it.
I know.
You know it.
I know I do. Oh man.
I praise him all the time.
I know you do.
Do you want me to just say it?
Tim Curry.
You're damn right, Tim Curry.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I didn't even realize that was Tim Curry until like years later, like when I did more and I was rewatching the cartoon and I heard him talk and I'm like, oh my god, that's Tim Curry. Oh my god, how did they get Tim Curry on this? I was freaking out. I'm like, oh my god.
I do the same thing. I've seen people in live action movies that I didn't know who they were when I saw the movie when I was younger, and then I see it again and I think, oh my gosh, like I didn't even realize that's who that was.
Funny fact, you ever seen the show The Wild Thornberrys? At all?
Yes.
Tim Curry is the dad.
Oh, what?
Yes.
I'm learning so much today.
I know, right? Oh, man.
Oh, man. Awesome.
Okay, so Matameo, of course, follows Matameo's story, but there's another subplot that deals with the Abbey, as the Abbey is besieged by a flock of crows led by General Ironbeak. Yeah, that's an entire subplot on its own as well. I'm not going to spoil anything for people that have not seen it, because the story of Matameo actually directly ties into events that happen in Redwall.
Ooh, okay.
So I can't really go into details for anybody who hasn't read the books, because I want people to read them.
Mm-hmm.
It's because there's a lot of details. A lot of details. So those two I have read, and I also read Mossflower and Martin the Warrior as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Martin the Warrior was, of course, the tale of the Abbey's original defender, Martin the Warrior, during a time before he came to Redwall Abbey. About how he was he became a he was brought on as a slave for a pirate who was making his fort, how he fought for his freedom and his rebellion, and there's so much to deal with that. And Mossflower was the story of how he found his way to Redwall Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
Mossflower was actually the first sequel to Redwall. It was the second book that was released after Redwall.
Oh, okay.
Although it takes place before Redwall.
Right, so kind of like a prequel?
Yes. Yeah, exact. Yeah. No, wait. I just reread it. Mossflower was I think one of the stories that talked about how Redwall Abbey was founded.
Oh, okay.
And Martin was one of the people responsible for the Abbey's founding and construction. Which is pretty great.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of M names in there. Martin, Matthias, Matameo, Mortimer.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of M.
Ursula.
Yeah, there's a lot of M ones in that one, and then apparently,
Mossflower.
and then believe it or not, Matameo's son is also named Martin.
What? No. Oh, that's so confusing. I was gonna say, what?
Hannah down. You good?
Hey, my cat was on my lap and the heat turned on and he freaked out and jumped out of my lap and got entangled in my headphones.
Kafka! Kafka, no! Is Kafka okay, though?
Yeah, he's fine.
Kitty?
He's sitting in the hallway now, looking suspiciously. He's staring suspiciously at the vent.
Human, I have found a young church mouse. If his name truly is Matthias, then I will end his legacy here.
Yes, I will end his legacy. I guess. Yeah, he was sitting so nicely on my lap, just sitting here purring.
Aww.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, it's okay. But yeah, all of these books tell stories of the stuff of the Redwall universe, I would say. Some of them tie directly into like the way of the Abbey, and some deal with like other different events outside as well. Like I said, there are 22 novels of this series.
Oh my goodness.
Which is insane. The most recent of them, which was Brian Jacques' final book, which I'm trying to remember if it was released. I think it was released before his death in 2011. The Rogue Crew.
Okay.
Which is one I have not read yet. And yeah, there's many different tales, like some that I've always wanted to read that I have not had the pleasure to read yet is Salamandastron, which is the book that is chronologically supposed to take place before the original Redwall, Pearls of Lutra, Tagarung, Yulia, Loamhedge. There's so much.
Oh my gosh.
And it's all a children's novel series.
Oh.
Which is insane.
That's dedication.
Like, I think for me, I think looking back, for me, Redwall was like the series that really got me into like the books such as like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Chronicles of Narnia. Redwall was the book series that started it for me.
Oh, wow.
Which makes a lot of sense, because when you think about like all of the different like how Brian Jacques' writing style was, like how descriptive, like he could really get like in the moment. Actually, you can compare that to like how both C.S. Lewis and Tolkien did some of theirs as well. Because we both know Lewis and Tolkien can be very descriptive and precise when they really want to be. Especially Tolkien.
Oh, yeah. And his whole description of Minas Tirith and all that.
Basically, picture the description of Minas Tirith, but just for a simple dish of food.
Yep.
That's Brian Jacques.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the it's a role-playing game, and there's other games, and then there's like a series, it's like a comic book series called Mouse Guard. Have you ever heard of it?
I feel like I have.
It's Redwall-esque. And the illustrations are so beautiful, and stuff. There's like, okay, so it's a New York Times best-selling comic book series written and illustrated by David Peterson. And it's sort of it's about mice struggling to live safely and prosper amongst harsh conditions and a host of predators. They're like, it's kind of, it's like it's Redwall-esque. There's like a little comic book series. There's 3 series actually. There's one called Fall of 1152, Winter of 1152. Series 3, The Black Axe. Series 4, The Weasel War. And there's this game called Swords and Strongholds, which actually my mom and I have played, which it's kind of like it's kind of like simplified chess, or sort of like that game Talk,
Yeah.
which is based off of Patrick Rothfuss's Name of the Wind, like a game in that. It's kind of like that, where it's strategy and putting down like swords and strongholds, if you can believe that. No, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm looking at the website right now, and it's like so
Oh,
cute. There's like a little mouse with a little sword fighting a big snake.
Asmodeus.
Asmodeus.
That was actually the name of the snake in Redwall that took
Oh,
Martin's
yeah.
sword.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was like another thing that was part of Redwall, is that, like, to defeat Clooney, to truly, like, solidify Matthias as the defender, he needed Martin's sword, which has been lost for seasons.
Mm. Is that like what they is that what they say instead of years? Seasons?
Yeah, the passing of the time is in seasons.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And they do different descriptors for seasons, as in Redwall, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the entire war of Clooney the Scourge took place over a single summer, and it was dubbed at the time the Summer of the Late Rose, which was the rose that grew at the Abbey. Which the late rose was actually a named such as we find out in I believe it was Martin the Warrior, where the origin of that came from.
Mm.
Because oh god, I hope I'm not like messing this up. If there are any people that have read Redwall, and if I'm butchering this, I'm sorry. It's been so long since I've read the books, and I'm mainly doing this off of memory.
Mm-hmm.
The Late Rose was named as such because a young mouse maiden that Martin fell in love with after he was freed was named Rose. And when they were rebelling against Batarang, the pirate, for their freedom, she died during the battle.
Oh no!
And
Why are you telling me this?
I'm sorry. It's part of the lore. I'm sorry. And
oh my gosh! Never mind. Sorry. They have a coloring book too.
Yeah, they do. And when Martin eventually founded what settled in Redwall for the rest of his days, there were those from Rose's home village that had journeyed to Redwall and bore with them their signature rose of their village to take rest, to be planted at the Abbey, and was thereby dubbed the Late Rose.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a lot, and I'm just like, oh my god, why? Okay.
Oh,
And
I like that. Yeah, I watched a little bit of the series that you sent me. They had a lot of different shots of the roses everywhere, that around the Abbey and stuff.
That was like a constant fixture in a lot of in almost all of the series. Honestly, it's like a constant motif.
I love it. Why is the place called Redwall? Does that have to do with the roses as well?
Not to my knowledge. Hold on. Let me remember here. Let's see. Redwall Abbey. Okay. Here we go. All right. An ancient castle and blueprints of the Abbey complex. The Abbey was built out of red sandstone from a neighboring quarry by woodlanders of Mossflower and survivors of the Lomehenge Abbey plague. Construction took more than 20 seasons. So it was from the stone.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Okay, and here it is. The residents of Redwall Abbey named the seasons every year after some large occurrence. Young citizens of the Abbey are called Dibbons. Interesting.
Hmm.
So yeah, pretty impressive, I must say. 20 seasons. Jesus, that's long.
Seasons. Is it like it's autumn, winter, spring, summer?
Yep.
Like, okay, so 20 seasons is like 5 years.
Roughly, yeah.
It's like, so in mouse years, how long have you lived?
That is a very very good question. I do not remember, because you would have to assume that they would still age like ordinary mice though, mainly because in the series as well, we do meet like larger animals such as the giant snake and a large owl in the original Redwall called Captain Snow, and a tabby cat in Redwall as well. They are giant compared to the mice because of how mice like how original scale like a mouse would see like a cat or an owl or anything like that. Because you got to remember, all of the perspective of this story is from the perspective of small little critters.
Yeah.
And you have mice which can only reach to be like maybe in like human comparison, if like all the mice would probably grow to be about maybe 4.5 feet tall almost at most. And you compare them to
mice?
Yeah, because you compare them to like other
Did you say feet or inches?
No, 4.5 feet. So 4 feet 6 inches probably.
Oh, okay.
I would say would be like the most they grow, because then you compare them to like other creatures that are in there, like you have the Constance the badger, who's basically the den mother of the entire abbey, and she is a tank. You do not mess with Constance. And then you have Basil, who's a stag hare, who when standing on his hind legs, like, he is tall. He is a tall boy.
And there aren't any humans in this. They never show up, do they?
To my knowledge, no. It is all
it's an animal world.
It is all a world of animals. Which I am more than fine with that, because I mean, it's children's literature, and you can be so much more creative like in that than just having it be, oh, these are humans and everything like that.
Yep.
All right, so I found a couple of great this was one of my a few of my favorite quotes from like the original Redwall, and I do remember this as well.
Yes.
If I remember right, this was a quote that was written down like from like the final like battle at the end. The young mouse's eyes snapped open, clear and bright. He swung the ancient sword high and struck at the giant adder. He struck for Redwall. He struck against evil. He struck for Martin. He struck for Logolog and his shrews. He struck for dead Gauzim. He struck as Methuselah would have wanted him to. He struck against Clooney the Scourge and tyranny. He struck out against Captain Snow's ridicule. He struck for the world of light and freedom. He struck until his paws ached and the sword fell from them. This is when he was, I remember, the adder. This is when he was killing Asmodeus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the passion of, like, the repetition that I'm like, I get chills every time. And, this is, where is it? All right, right here. This is another one of my favorites. I actually do remember this. Knowledge is a thing that one cannot have enough of. It is the fruit of wisdom, to be eaten carefully and digested fully, unlike that lunch you are bolting down, little friend.
Spoken like a true Ravenclaw.
Oh my god, you know what? That's true.
Knowledge.
Knowledge is power. So yeah, like I said, there is so much imagination in this series, and I want to read through it all again.
I just had ideas for Christmas gifts, so thank you.
I don't have any of the books anymore. I only rented them from the library. I wish I owned these books. I wish I had them so much. So much.
Oh, hello, cat. You're back.
Hi, Kafka.
Did you scope out the situation in the vent? Was all safe? I guess so.
Ooh, this was one more quote. It was a conversation between the abbot and Clooney the Scourge from the original Redwall. Are you going to go down on your knees and beg for your life, old one? Abbot Mortimer stared calmly into Clooney's savage eye. I will never bend my knee on my own behalf. However, if I thought I could save the life of one of my friends, I would gladly fall down on both knees. But I know you, Clooney, better than you know yourself. There is not a scrap of pity or mercy in your heart, only a burning desire for vengeance. Therefore I will not kneel to one who is consumed by evil.
Well.
How often do you hear that in children's literature?
Not too often. Oh yeah, I mean, children's literature is very important. Like, people say that it's like just silly stories and stuff, but no, it's your formative years. What the stories you hear in your formative years are important.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what I grew up with.
The original Redwall was an 800-page manuscript.
Holy crap.
That's unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
And he was Brian Jacques actually served in war, and a lot of things that happened like during some of the stories in terms of like rationing and battle tactics and everything like that, he actually picked up from his experiences.
Oh wow. Yeah.
That is
That's awesome.
God almighty. Like, I will never say enough how much I continue to love these books so much. I really need to. I need to read more. I need to read so much more.
Yeah, get on that.
Indeed.
I need to just read the first one again. I did not realize how long it's been since I read it, because I literally remember nothing.
I want to reread it too, just so I can reignite it, because it's been so long since I've read the book. Last time I read it, I was I think I was like maybe 16, 15. God. One day. So, Hannah, your thoughts on all this that I've just poured out to you? I know usually when we talk about novels, you're the one that usually takes more of the reins, but
yeah, no, this has been interesting. I'm glad you got to get behind the wheel for this one.
Oh my God, it's been so great. And I know you and me both, and several of our listeners and friends, we love like works like by the likes of like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, and
oh yeah,
I feel like Brian, the Redwall series and Brian Jacques, he's influenced by that. by that same specter.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's why I just love bringing this series up. All the time.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I think that will do, huh?
I think so. I think that'll do.
All right. In that case, we shall sign off. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to this episode of the General Geekery Podcast, talking all about the Redwall series written by Brian Jacques. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to us geek out over it, particularly me as I look back during my childhood. Like, oh man, I'm actually getting a little emotional about it now. If you guys liked what you heard today, please follow us wherever we can be found. You guys can check out the podcast on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, and you guys can also check us out on my personal YouTube channel at Anime Rev Productions. That is Anime Rev Productions. If you also feel like supporting the show in any way, we do have a Patreon where you can donate to the show to help us grow our community and gain more and get some more content out to you guys. We will release our episodes 2 days early. So we will release them on Wednesday early for our patrons over on our Patreon. We also do other stuff. Hannah does her journal entries and what she writes for certain episodes of the podcast. I saw the most recent one that was very interesting. I'm like, this is what goes through her mind?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What a strange rabbit hole I've fallen down.
It is a strange rabbit hole.
And we have so much more over there as well. So if you would if you want to support the show, please check out our Patreon in the description of this episode. Also, you can check us out on social media at General Geekery on Instagram and at Gen Geek Podcast on Facebook and Twitter. Hannah, where can they find you?
Well, as always, you can find me rolling dice with my party every Monday at 7:30 Central on twitch.tv/loadeddiceadventures. We do a little D&D campaign every week. It's an ongoing campaign. I play Petra, the Dragonborn Ranger Rogue, and it's a great time, full of shenanigans. Tune in and watch that. We do giveaways. It's pretty great. You can also catch me on the podcast that I do with my mom, the SPLANCHNIC podcast, where we talk about art, entertainment, and tabletop gaming, all from the perspective of two different generations. And you can follow me on Instagram at Pythian Legume.
Excellent. And you guys can check me out on Twitch as well at RyuzakiMK7, where I play a different variety of games. Many of them are RPG based, but along with that, I do many different voice acting on the spot just for fun, and I have a great time hanging out with my community as well. And you guys can check me out on Twitter and Instagram as well at RyuzakiMK7, chatting up anime, talking about coffee, sharing memes, all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be it for this episode, you guys. If I'm not mistaken, episode 55?
50.
Yep, 55. Episode 55. Talking about Redwall. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, for Hannah Kubiak, I'm Donald Kaczynski. And always remember, keep your geek on.
Always.
Clink, clink. I am that is. My sword shall wield for thee. Later, guys.
You okay there?
That was actually a quote.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.